Hi, friends. In our time together today, I'm talking about playing in and maintaining a wood whistle. Um, a wood whistle needs to be broken in, played in differently than a metal whistle, an ABS whistle, a carbon fiber whistle. It also needs to be maintained differently. Now, the manufacturer or the supplier will likely send you instructions on how to break in, play in your whistle, and how to maintain it moving forward. They're all slightly different, and we'll talk about that some. So it's important to pay attention to and follow the instructions you receive with your whistle. And if you receive no instructions with your whistle, please feel free to reach out to the manufacturer or supplier and say, is there any special way I should break in this whistle or maintain it? But I'm going to give you today kind of an overview of some of the general wisdom consolidated that I found because I have a few different wood whistles, and I found that different manufacturers have given me slightly different instructions. Some of that depends on the wood of the whistle and how much wood is in the whistle. So I've kind of consolidated that some. So there are two primary concerns. The first is breaking in, playing in your whistle. This is a beautiful high D from Jonathan Swain. All of the high D wood whistles I'm going to show you, because that's what I'm using for my example, are absolutely beautiful and play well. And I'm going to play all of them together really, really soon. I keep promising that and haven't delivered yet. So Jonathan Swain's whistle, apart from the tuning slide, is all wood and a couple different kinds of wood. Now, looking then at the Thornton High D, the body is all wood and the head piece is not. And then you get different grades and variations flowing in. But because there is some wood, you have to be very careful. So moisture causes wood to swell. And so you don't want too much moisture in your wood whistle. Too much moisture also causes blech to build and grow in your wood whistle. So what you want to do, this is, your manufacturer may say something slightly different. Generally speaking, here's a guideline, not a rule, a guideline. Play your brand new wood whistle for no more than 10 to 15 minutes at a time and no more than half an hour a day for the first 2 weeks you own it. That might sound crazy, but the wood whistle needs to become accustomed to all the moisture you're blowing into it. And as you blow moisture in, the moisture's getting all over the inside and the outside still dry, and that could hurt the whistle. So that's why you don't want to play too long at any one sitting for the first couple of weeks. Pick your whistle up every day, play it for 10 minutes, put it down, pick it up again, play it for 10 minutes, put it down, like half an hour a day for 2 weeks. Then you could gradually play it longer. You are acclimatizing your whistle to being played so that it becomes accustomed to all that. So that's really, really important. The second concern is caring for a wood whistle. And there are a number of little points here, some of it about cleaning and some of it about storing and some of it about leaving it out and all that stuff. First, leave your whistle to come to room temperature before playing it. And with that said, secondly, don't expose your wood whistle to extremes of temperature. Don't leave it in a hot car. Don't leave it in a freezing cold car. Don't carry it somewhere without paying attention to it. Don't let it get soaked with water. So a lot a lot of extremes there are helpful. Don't let it sit in the sunlight. That's really important too. And a lot of people might buy a case for their wood whistle. Mine are sitting on a cloth on my desk. Windows are right there, but because of the porch, the sunlight doesn't beam in directly on them, and our house is reasonably temperature controlled, and it's fine for that. It's just don't let it be exposed to extremes. And if you finish playing and you put your whistle into some kind of case, don't put it away wet. Give it a little swab out, and I'll show this swab in a bit. You could use a high D swab, but one nice thing is a plastic or wood rod with a little hole. It's like a flute or piccolo swab, and then you just put like a cottony cloth on the tip, and you could swab that through your whistle. Just get some of the water out before putting it away. Now I have a high D whistle swab, but it has a metal body and there's a little plastic covering the metal tip. I could use this on the wood whistles, but you've got to be really careful, because imagine the edge, the bottom edge of your wood whistle, and you're rubbing this in and out of your whistle. You're going to start grinding the wood, and that's not a good thing. That's why it's often recommended by the manufacturers that you use a plastic or a wood rod designed for this purpose. So, wood likes to be moisturized. That's one of the reasons you play it in, but wood also likes to be treated well, pampered, as it were. So, again, I've consolidated recommendations from different manufacturers. Pay attention to what your manufacturer, your supplier says you should do with regard to treating your wood whistle. This is a McManus High D, lovely whistle. One of the things you're going to notice on a lot of wood whistles is there's often metal at the head there, at the whole fipple. There's often metal at the tuning slide, and the tuning slide itself is often metal. You will often notice the often use of often. You will often notice that the tuning slide on a wood whistle is a little longer than the tuning slide on some other whistles. And then there will be a stabilizing ring. This is not just to stabilize the tone, but to keep the wood from cracking. On the Swain, it isn't, but it bells out slightly and thickens there, and some of that's the wood being used. So anyway, wood likes to be maintained, oiled, as it were, but it never wants to be flooded. One of the things you'll want to do is, in treating your wood whistle, is to wipe it out generally, like I said. And so this is a Nick Metcalf. And so you want to put that cloth up in there and swab the whistle. And I realized for that I used there you go. I had too much cloth. And you want to, if you want swabbing that out. One of the things you could do, so if your whistle should be oiled, you could do this a couple of ways. Take your whistle apart, being careful. Nick's tuning slide's a little longer. And treat the tuning slide with cork grease as you would. You're not going to pour oil in here. Don't do that. What you're going to do is you're going to take like this rod, and I've got a little oil here, and I'll talk about the oil in a minute, and you're going to just get some oil on there, and now my hands are oily, and I've got a little oil on there, and I'm going to feed that up into the whistle, draw it back, and then do the same, going this way. Okay? Not tons, you're just getting a coating of oil. Now, I have heard some people say that you could really get a lot of oil on there and let it sit in the oil drain before wiping it out. I've only heard that on one site. For the most part, it's, well, just get a little oil on there. And then you don't want any excess oil on there, so you're going to use like a pull through cleaner there, and you're going to draw that through, and that will pull out any excess. The general consensus seems to be to give a light oil treatment to the bore once a week, once every couple of weeks when your whistle's brand new. And then one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure, like you can wipe the outside, but you want to make sure that there are these little fine bits, or they're your note holes, and you want to make sure that some of that has been oiled lightly. And so I'm giving, just make sure I get each tone hole there a bit, because you don't want the tone hole to get cracky and dry. And you can wipe the outside, you don't have to, it might make it look pretty. But, now, the head's another consideration. See, there is some wood here on nicks, but then you've got the whole fipple assembly, the airway, the block. You don't ever want wood to get on the block there. And you don't want oil to get down in the airway, because oil in the airway is actually going to remain a little moist, and oil is going to collect dust and any grime, and it's going to build up in there, and it'll be harder to clean. Clean the airway as you would any other whistle. One of the things like that Roy McManus recommends is one of these gum soft picks. Came in this package. No intended advertisement, just the one I have. And then you take that and you can slide that, stick it like a little lid with some lightly warm water and washing up liquid, dish soap, and not too much, and then get that little brush in there and then just give a little clean there. And that'll also add a little bit of surfactant qualities, anti-condensation to the head, and do some normal wiping at the head. Don't get too carried away with, just don't get oil near the head, okay? That's the recommendation there. After you have cleaned your whistle for a while, put this one back together. After like the first few weeks of cleaning your whistle and oiling it, you then don't have to do that so often. The consensus seems to be like once every 6 months, once a year, after you've really broken it in and oiled it for, once every other week for a couple of months, then you're perfectly fine. So don't over oil your whistle. Don't let it get saturated. You're just giving it a light treatment. So like I said, remember, get I wouldn't say get your cloth drippy, but get your cloth wet, moist with oil. And then put it on the rod and run it in and out of your whistle a couple of times. And then do a pull through to make sure you pull all excess out. That's very important. Just a couple other points to close us out here, but I've got a big question for you all. So when dealing with lighter woods, I have read a couple of manufacturers say it's okay to use like a beeswax. Yet I would also say it's very important not to use an oil or a wax that's going to stay and create a film. That's very important. So the oils, let me find my note to say this correctly. The oils primarily recommended are pure almond oil or boar oil. And Yes, I know some people say linseed oil, but linseed oil is what they call a drying oil, meaning it could dry and create a film. A film is what you don't want. What you're doing when you're giving your oil, the bore of your oil, and around the tone holes, just a little bit of oil, is you're adding some moisture into the wood there, so it's not going to dry and crack. Linseed oil can actually, not all linseed oils, but generally speaking, there we go again. Linseed oil can create a film, and that film can build after treatments, and then that can alter the tone of your whistle. That's why you need a wet oil that goes into the wood, and also why you don't want too much oil. Just a little bit of oil to gently and lightly treat, particularly the bore of your wood whistle. Don't get any oil on the head. Don't ever get any oil on the block. Don't get oil in the windway. You're just treating the inside some around the exposed areas like the finger holes, and give the outside a wipe if you would like. So those are the recommendations to break in, play in your wood whistle, and to maintain your wood whistle. Now, if you've owned and maintained a wood whistle, already broken it in, and you've got a track record with doing this, please comment. We in the community want to hear from you. I haven't owned wood whistles for a long time, and I've only started, maintaining them after the break-in period. Now, we want to hear from you. What have you done? What do you do moving forward? Please comment. I do hope this video is helpful. If it is, please like it. If I've said something incorrect, please correct me. But this seems to be what I've found from the consensus of all the manufacturers I've been able to check with, and that's quite a few. So if you're brand new and just checking us out because of the video, please subscribe. We've got an amazing group of folks learning to play the whistle together. Until next time, this is Scott Shade. Happy whistling, friends.